And hello, my name is Ryan Belmer. I'm the owner and publisher of What's Up Noop. It is Thursday, October 20th. We are on day 2 of early voting in Rhode Island. Just a few short weeks before the general election. I've been telling everybody, visit vote.ri.gov. You can see your sample ballot. You can find out where to vote early. You can find out where to vote on November 8th. You can make sure you're registered to vote and then panic like crazy. But most importantly, you can go on there and see your sampled ballots. There's probably a surprise. There's probably a race that you haven't considered. And now is the time to get to know the candidates. We've been doing our part. We have been bringing you dozens. By the time we're done with this, we'll be at about 70 interviews with candidates. Everything from school committee all the way up to the congressional races. We just had Congressman David Cicilline on earlier today. We have the governor on next week, and so on. So whatsupnoop.com, you can watch all the videos or you can listen to them as podcasts. Today we are in the beautiful town of Portsmouth, and we are with Len Katzman, who is a candidate for Portsmouth Town Council. Ken, how are you? Len, how are you?
I'm very well, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
You are no stranger to Portsmouth Town Council or Portsmouth politics, but give us a little recap background for those that don't know you.
Sure. It's true. I have been involved in Portsmouth politics. I was going to say since 2004 when I ran my first campaign, but actually 2003, I sought out to be appointed to and volunteered to serve on the Charter Review Committee. So that wasn't politics, but it was sort of my first foray into town service. But for those who don't know me, I'm actually going to back up all the way to 1976 when I graduated Portsmouth High School. And I went straight from Portsmouth High to the University of Rhode Island. And like perhaps many freshmen straight out of high school, I had no idea really why I was at college or what I was going to do or what I wanted to do with my life. But I did find out that you could party a whole lot. And a lot of people don't know this, I flunked out of college. It turns out you can't do well if you don't show up for the tests. And I was invited to go play elsewhere. And I floated around for a few years. I played in a rock band. I did odd things around and about to get by. And at a certain point in time, I decided I had to step up. I had to get serious. I had to figure out how to be a responsible adult. And I went back to school. I decided to step up, and I went back to school. I got a degree in computer science, and I landed my first job at what was then Sperry, became Unisys, but in the defense sector here on Aquidneck Island doing software engineering. And I had a 15-year-long career in software engineering. I worked for tiny companies and giant companies in that sector. I worked for GTech for a while, the now IGT, the lottery provider. Came back to the defense sector and worked at Newark for a number of years running a high-performance computer facility. And it was that job, unlike my other software jobs, where I had essentially an 8:30 to 5 type of job. All of my other jobs, I might have to fly and do a software update at the drop of a hat. And candidly, I had grown tired of staring at a screen all day and coding. I had fallen out of love with computers and software. And I had a real sort of moment of, do I just grind it out and live my life until I can retire like this? Or I decided to step up and make a career change. And I went to Roger Williams University School of Law. This was back when they first became accredited and had a night program. So I went to work during the day at Newark and nights and weekends at law school and studied in my spare time. It was a challenge, but it was great fun. I loved going back to school and really getting into the intellectual back and forth with the teachers, and landed at a Partridge Snow and Hahn, a large business law firm in Providence, doing intellectual property business transactions, counsel to small businesses and large businesses, any kind of business that would have a technology, intellectual property basis. I was at the firm for about 7 years, and then started looking for in-house counsel or other types of positions other than the sort of partnership track law firm life, which can be a bit of a grind. So I did not like that track. Again, I had to step up and found work at Brown University, where I've been ever since. I'm the director of business development, involved in licensing intellectual property. Inventions that come about through your taxpayer-funded research ends up in economic commerce. Along the way, I had a child who was in the schools, and I cared a lot about the schools, as do many people, both those who have kids in the schools and those who don't. Personally, I think public education is one of the primary foundations of our nation and our government and our society. And Thomas Jefferson thought so too. His proudest achievement was the establishment of the University of Virginia. It's on his gravestone. In 2004, the then Republican-dominated council voted to take $500,000 off the school department budget. Didn't say what they should cut. They just said, you figure it out, but we're getting rid of $500,000. And they didn't save the taxpayers a penny by doing that, because they took that $500,000 and they put it on the town side of the budget, solving their own problems. I didn't think that was right. And so I had this epiphany of, well, if good people don't stand up and run for office, then the jokers who were running things back then, those kinds of things would continue to happen. So again, I stepped up, I ran. I served in 2004. I ran again in 2006 and was reelected. Since 2008, I've been the chair of the Portsmouth Democratic Town Committee. And the job of municipal party committees is to find good people to run for office, which is a challenge, but in Portsmouth, we are blessed to have plenty of very good candidates. In 2018, I ran and was elected to the town council, and I've been there since then. I'm running again now.
So almost 20 years. Instead of politics, I'm going to call it public service, because that's the better word. And if people visit PortsmouthDemocrats.com, one of the other candidates had mentioned it as well. They can go on and see the 2022 endorsed town council candidates, and there are 8 of them.
No, should be 7.
There are 7 of them for town council, and there are 4 for school committee. I was trying to quickly scan, and in one of those that is endorsed is yourself on that list. Yes,
I'm very humbled, candidly, to continue to have the support of the Democratic Party. I think parties serve a useful purpose. They are certainly not the be-all, end-all, and Democrats amongst ourselves can disagree widely on a range of issues. That said, I think party affiliation does say something about some general values and principles that folks who affiliate with the party abide by. And for me, the Democratic Party values include understanding and appreciating that government serves a purpose in our society. It must be done right, it must be done well, but we need government. The Portsmouth is famously founded on the Compact of 1638. You know, it wasn't every man for himself. They didn't all pull themselves up by their bootstraps. No, they got together, they pooled their resources, they formed a government, and they got things done collectively and together. And that's what we do in Portsmouth. We get together, we pool our resources, and we pave our roads and run a fire department and run schools. And that's really what it's all about. And I thank you for calling it public service, because there's certainly no money in it. It costs more money to serve than I think the $1,000 before taxes I get. And if you're running because you have some special interest or agenda you're trying to seek, sometimes those folks do get elected, but they don't last long. You need to care more about the town you live in, the town I live in. You need to care more about Portsmouth and the people in it than yourself. And that's what service is. I think anybody who's willing to do that can have a decent shot at being a good town council member or school committee member.
As a quick aside, do you think more town and city governments should look at party affiliation? Middletown doesn't, Newport
Right.
doesn't, Portsmouth does, Tiverton does.
So Portsmouth has explored and discussed the idea multiple times, and at each time, there's been, believe me, a very rigorous discussion. I would not say that it is any sort of unanimity, but there is a majority of those who wish to keep party affiliation as part of the mix. I think it says something. Does it say everything? I just said it doesn't say everything. We disagree amongst ourselves, but when you walk into the voting booth, it does say something. It says these candidates affiliate with that party, these candidates affiliate with another party, these candidates choose to be unaffiliated with any party, right? The independents. If everybody is undesignated, you don't know, because people are still Republicans or Democrats or independents. The only difference is that information is hidden from the voter when you walk into the booth. So I'm not a fan of hiding information. I'm a fan of letting the voters know. And so I think it's important for that piece of information to not be hidden from the voters.
I like what you said earlier about it gives you a sense of principles.
That's right. And if you look at both the Rhode Island Democratic Party platform and the the Democratic National Committee platform, I think a lot is said there. And of course, affiliation means something a little different at the national level than it does at the state level, than it does at the local level. So again, if you go to PortsmouthDemocrats.com and look at our platform, you'll see it's very focused on local issues, as we should be.
Len, what made you decide to throw your hat in the ring for another 2 years? What keeps you going?
What keeps me going is, frankly, the candid feedback I get back from constituents who say that they appreciate the thoughtful consideration I give to this questions that come before the council. When they disagree with me, even, they will say, I understand how why you did it. And that's important. I believe every voter should know why I make my decisions. I'm not just voting yay or nay on something. I explain myself. And I listen. And listening is a skill that has to be honed. And I have changed my mind and changed my vote after hearing considered new information and new perspectives. Recently, I voted to implement, for example, the flock safety company's license plate reader cameras on the Mount Hope Bridge. Mm-hmm. It was kind of pitched to the council as a suicide prevention angle, and I certainly supported that. But after hearing a lot of input from constituents, I was moved to put it back on the agenda, rehear it, get all of this new information, and we changed our minds. And I think that's really one of the hallmarks also of the Democratic Party is we are not so lockstep and solidified in things must always be this way. And if you suggest something different, tough, we're not going to hear it. Like our embrace of science, which I think is a Democratic Party value. Science itself will change its opinions on new information. That's what I do. That's what we all do. That's what we all should do. That's what government should do. And yeah. I don't know if that answered the question because I don't remember the question.
The question was just, why are you running for re-election again? And I think you did a job of answering that.
Candidly, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy listening to people and helping things get done. That's what I do in my professional career is helping people get done what they want to get done. Not what I want to get done, but telling people how to do it and helping things get implemented. a lot of people will say they want to do something. Can you send me a template contract to do that? And they don't even really know what they want to do yet. It's like saying, can you give me a house purchase and sale contract without even having picked out a house yet? If you don't know what you want to do, having a way to do something doesn't matter. I'm more interested in what the people of Portsmouth want and then help get it done. Now, with all of that sort of lofty framing, by dramatically far, the lion's share of what we do is, in a sense, routine. It's running the police department, the fire department, Department of Public Works, town administration, and the schools. The council has a limited role in that. The bottom line of the school budget every year. The school committee has, frankly, the harder job of actually running a school department. So the lion's share of what the council does, if you really pay attention, for all that may or may not make the news, if you really pay attention, most votes are unanimous, because we're all rowing in the right direction, all rowing in the same direction, trying to get done for the people of Portsmouth, making sure the roads get paved. Where things go off the rails is, as I mentioned earlier, if candidates run for office and get elected, but they really have other agendas. They're trying to, they have a skewed idea of what town government does. Why am I running? I could do without the frustration. One of the things that frustrates me most is a segment of the population who just presumes the worst. They assume there's some hidden agenda going on, that everybody is untruthful and trying to get something secret done. And none of that is ever true. Just none of it. It's crazy. We've had people come and talk at the podium who say, was there some secret payoff? Well, none of us want to go to prison. Thank you. That's crime. We don't do that. No. But so the frustration is that can be an assumption that we're trying to do something nefarious. And all of the people I have served with of both parties, going back to 2004, generally just don't do that. Yeah. So I wish that the public would have a little bit more tolerance. I will say it's hard for the public. I get, and it's public information. I don't get anything, there's a stack of, used to be a stack of paper. Now it's it's PDF, but there's, a lot of reading information, a lot of backup material for every town council meeting. So there's hours of prep. I do my homework, and then the meeting itself can last 2-3 hours. And then, the next day or later that week, there's 5 column inches on what happened on it. So it can be really hard. There's so little published in even What's Up Noop or online publications where ink doesn't matter, but you're still not going to write a 4,000 word article.
Yeah,
it'd be really hard for the public to be fully informed because it takes so much time. And so I get it. And that's another reason I am running. Is our system is designed so that voters select who they trust to run things, because they don't have the time to watch every minute of every meeting and read every item of backup and do the work as though they were a council member. They have to be able to trust that the people they elect are doing that for them on their behalf as best they can. And I like to think that the public has placed its trust in me several times. That's why I'm running.
A couple things on the transparency there is it certainly has got easier to follow along and share feedback and watch what's going on. You can get agendas automatically emailed to you. You can participate ahead of time. You can watch the meeting from home. So just a few reminders there that it has certainly gotten easier for you to know what's going on, communicate with your council members, as well as watching the meeting from home while you're cooking dinner. Those are some good things. So I always say people have to participate. We can't do everything for you. People have to participate a little bit and look at the agenda and And they have to contact their council members. So that way they know how you feel.
That's it. Yeah, and every council member, I certainly welcome emails, phone calls. Welcome it. It's very valuable to hear from people.
Yeah.
And the few minutes or we have at a podium during a meeting shouldn't be the only time. So I do get a lot of phone calls and emails, but not nearly as much as you might think. Is this 14 something thereabouts thousand registered voters, 18,000 inhabitants. You'd think I'd hear more often, but
yeah. Well, maybe your email will begin to fill up a little bit. What do you see some of the current priorities and priorities over the next couple of years that you hope, if elected, you can focus on?
So I like to focus on, as I mentioned, a lot of what we do is routine, right? And so looking at each year's budget as if you will, zero-based budgeting is an important thing to do, not just because it can control costs, but it gives the council the ability to weigh in on controlling content. So zero-based budgeting, for those who may not know, means you don't look at last year's budget when you're building your next. You start from zero, and right? So in order to build a budget, you actually have to lay out what it is you're going to do. What are the activities of the office of the clerk, for example? And you can list them. That's, recording mortgages and handing out marriage licenses and this, acting as clerk of the council. There's a lot of elements to it. What is the staff required to do that? And so that's how budgets are built. And going one step behind the numbers is, what are the policies? It's sort of zero-based policy, if you will. So that's my priorities always, both short-term and long-term. So in short-term, before you know it, after the election, we'll be talking about next year's budget. Yeah. And it's important to keep government going and to keep the services that we want, that the people of Portsmouth want, not only available, but run as well as we possibly can, given the limited funds we have. We can't do everything, but we can do what we decide the people want and what we decide to do as best we can. Other priorities, I know the Senior Center Church Community Housing Joint Project will be coming before the council for approval, probably in front of the next council. The people of Portsmouth voted to have that move forward. And I think it's important to respect the wishes of those voters who support that project, as well as to support our seniors and have the senior center. I've always supported it. They get about 90 to 100,000, give or take, a year. And this is one of those operations that the town of Portsmouth doesn't have its own senior, elderly affairs department like big cities might. So we partner with a nonprofit organization that runs some services, and this is how we get those kinds of things available. But the facility they've been using is just reached the end of its useful life without major rehabilitation. So we're, I think, very fortunate to have a partner in church community housing that will build a new space. So that's an important one. I'm hesitating only because this is a non-standard answer.
Yeah.
Every election cycle, candidates are asked, what's your priority? What the issues do you think you want to work towards? And every candidate, including me, dutifully answers. Keeping taxes down as best we can, having Portsmouth be affordable, maybe addressing some known challenges like life cycle of a school or the senior center or whatever, But the truth is, having observed things for 20 years, no candidate really knows what the top issue they are going to have to deal with will be in their term. Everybody who ran for office in 2018 had no idea that just keeping the lights on during COVID was going to be the defining challenge of that term. A few years before that, you may remember that Target, the big box store, Target, wanted to open in Portsmouth, and it was something the folks in Portsmouth didn't want. And so that was the defining challenge of that day. We had, so many people show up to town hall for that meeting. We had to keep people out. We had to either reschedule it or have people agree that the overflow would just wait outside, which they did. We opened the windows and they could hear. Nobody who ran for office for that election cycle knew that what would consume so much time would be fighting a big box store. So what is really important, in my opinion, is for voters to elect people who can, in a crisis situation, act calmly, rationally, based on information and not rhetoric or scaremongering. There's often scaremongering coming from candidates themselves. I recall folks who've run entire campaigns based on scaring the voters that $100 million sewer project is going to be forced down your throats. Not a single candidate for town council has ever supported anything remotely like that. So it was just made up. Don't vote for those people. Don't vote for the people who are doing the scaremongering, because they have their facts wrong nearly all of the time. And they're running on issues that are just fake issues. Vote for candidates who can commit, as I do, to listening to everybody's input, to gaining the facts from reliable sources and making rational decisions about it. And so that's my top issue. Show up as prepared as possibly can be for every town council meeting, and make the best decision on behalf of the people of Portsmouth as the facts and finances will allow.
And you are looking for people to fill in the bubble next to your name. And one more time on why they should fill the bubble next to your name first, but certainly not last.
Well, they should fill in the bubble for my name first, obviously. But I will say that it is a council of 7 people, and I can't do it. If you support me, thank you. But I can't do it alone. I need a majority of like-minded folks. And so I urge everyone to also support my fellow Democratic Party town council candidates, because frankly, we vet them. We make sure we try not to let crazy people on the ballot, and when crazy people have stepped up to the plate to put their hat in the ring, we've run a slate of 7 and gotten them off the ballot at the primary stage so that the voters don't have to face that at the general election. So vote for me, please. I appreciate your consideration, and please support my fellow Democratic Party candidates.
Yeah, and you can go to portsmouthdemocrats.com. And one of the things, I was just looking at your bio, our last interview from last time around, or it might be linking to this interview, is on there. So I appreciate the promotion of it. And you can find out all of the other endorsed candidates on there as well as your bio again. And there was contact info on there as well, if anybody wants to dive into the conversation a little bit deeper. Len, we wish you the very best of luck over the next couple of weeks, and we hope to see you around town real soon.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, Ryan, and I really appreciate local media who's coming to work every day to really get these stories out there. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and I'll just self-plug. The more people the more people support us, the more we can cover what Len's doing. So support What's Up Noob. Go to whatsupnoop.com, share the interviews, watch the interviews, compare candidates. That all helps us. So thanks again, Len.
Have a good day.
All right. That is Len Katzman. We want to thank him for joining us today. Again, he is one of the Democrats who are running for Portsmouth Town Council. PortsmouthDemocrats.com. You can learn a lot more. If you missed any portion of this interview, you can find it on whatsupnoop.com, where you can watch it or listen to it. Thanks for watching.